The rumblings began quietly, whispered through message boards and late-night live streams, the kind of whispers boxing fans have learned to ignore. But this time, the noise grew louder, bolder, until it thundered through the sport like a warning bell no one wanted to hear. Reports began circulating that Turkey Alalshikh and the PIF, the financial engine behind boxing's new Saudi era, were running low on funds, or at the very least, preparing to drastically pull back on spending in 2026. It was the kind of revelation that forced everyone to pause because for the past few years, Saudi money had held the entire sport in the palm of its hand. Now that grip suddenly seemed less certain. For many, this didn't come as a shock. It was the natural friction of a model that burned money faster than it could justify. Turkey Alalshikh, with all his influence, had bought up the sport like it was a collectible card game, locking down the biggest names, promising the biggest purses, stacking one supercard after another and trusting that the spectacle alone would eventually turn a profit. But boxing has always lived and breathed through the American market. Its television culture, its pay-per-view structure, its nighttime fights carved into tradition. Pulling the heart of boxing out of the US and dropping it into afternoon events in Saudi Arabia meant clashing with college football, the NBA, tennis, and every other sport that already dominated those time slots. No matter how glamorous the production, no matter how astronomical the purses, you cannot rewire generations of viewing habits overnight. While fans marveled at the lavish cards being assembled overseas, some insiders saw a storm building. UK boxing was gutted. American fighters were being rushed into matchups long before they were ready, more for the spectacle than for developmental growth. Fighters grabbed the fast money while they could, knowing deep down that gravy trains eventually derail. Now, the suggestion that PIF is redirecting funds to other mega-projects feels less like a rumor and more like the inevitable rhythm of business reality. Turkey Alalshikh's team predictably denied these reports. Ring magazine denied them too. But anyone who understands the business knows why. If fighters, promoters, and networks suddenly believed the money was drying up, contracts would wobble, negotiations would stall, and the entire infrastructure would be thrown into disarray. Of course they denied it. That's what any organization does when the leak hits the headlines at the worst possible time. Denial slows panic. Denial buys time. But even if the headlines overshot the truth, the underlying issues remain. The cost of the Saudi era is astronomical. Every fighter wants a slice, every promoter wants a seat at the table, and every card demands the kind of funding that no business could sustain forever. And because Turkey isn't rooted in the American boxing ecosystem, he's surrounded by people who are more than happy to inflate prices, knowing full well this wave won't last. Everyone grabs as much as they can before the tide goes out. Some fighters have already paid the price. Jared Anderson, once hailed as America's future heavyweight star, found himself fast-tracked into a dangerous bout against Martin Bakol, a fight his team insisted he wasn't ready for. Money over development, spectacle over strategy. He was knocked out. Now he's heading into another brutal test against Frank Sanchez. Two rebuilding fighters with scars, thrown together again because the Saudi machine needed names, not careers. Anderson was supposed to be shaped slowly, carefully, groomed into a championship threat under Top Rank's traditional model. Instead, the Saudi conveyor belt threw him into the deep end far too soon, derailing the promise that once surrounded him. This isn't an isolated story. It's the pattern. Abu Dhabi, Riyadh, and the rest of the region demanded attractions, not prospects. They didn't have time or appetite to build careers from scratch. They wanted stars already polished or at least fighters that looked the part. Even someone like Abdullah Mason, just 21, found himself in a tough fight against a far more experienced Sam Noakes. Another example that long-term fighter development was becoming an afterthought. And while fans enjoyed massive fight nights, another truth revealed itself. Despite the claim that Saudi had unlimited funds, pay-per-view prices kept climbing. DAZN hikes. Premium card fees. Stack after stack. If the money was endless, why the constant consumer charges? Why the constant financial layering? These cracks hinted at something deeper. An attempt to transition from pure investment to sustainability. To build a model that stops hemorrhaging money and starts generating it. But boxing is not a business you can force into submission. It moves on its own timeline. It rewards history, loyalty, and local culture. It punishes impatience. Turkey Alalshikh's vision was bold, perhaps too bold. Trying to be both the king of boxing prestige and a practical businessman is a dual role few can master. Spectacle is expensive. Maintaining it is even more costly. And the reality is that global sports ventures, no matter how wealthy the investors, always face a moment where they must pivot from spending to earning. Boxing now stands on the brink of that pivot. If Saudi money truly slows down, a shockwave will ripple across the sport. Promoters who emptied their stables for quick cash will find themselves rebuilding from ashes. Fighters who skipped developmental years will struggle when the training wheels vanish. And fans who grew used to massive cards every few months will see the return of droughts, rebuilds, and fragmented divisions. But perhaps this correction isn't a tragedy, it might be the recalibration boxing desperately needed. A return to organic growth. A return to American and UK domestic scenes, building stars locally before shipping them into global events. A return to nights where matchmaking mattered more than wallet size. Turkey Alalshikh's era brought unforgettable moments, but it also burned bright enough to blind the sport. Now, reality forces boxing to rediscover balance. Whatever happens next, one truth remains: boxing always survives. It bends, breaks, rebuilds, and rises again. And as the Saudi winds shift, the sport prepares for its next evolution, one shaped not by endless spending but by a return to roots. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is boxing headed for a major collapse, or is this just another shift in a sport built on cycles? Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another breakdown of the stories shaping the boxing world. Your support keeps this journey alive, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.